Welcome to Jerusalem, the center of the world, the holy city of gold and white stone. But before your eyes can adjust to the blinding majesty of Herod's temple, your nose is assaulted by something far more grounded, the stench of death. In year 1 AD, the most efficient killer in this city isn't a Roman sword or a zealot's dagger. It is the water you drink and the air you breathe. Walk with me into the lower city. Here, the grand aqueducts that feed the wealthy upper city are a distant dream. In these narrow, suffocating alleys, sanitation is a myth. Look at the ground. That mud isn't just dirt. It is a toxic mixture of animal waste, rotting garbage, and human sewage thrown freely from doorways. In the crushing heat of a Judean summer, this sludge cooks, becoming a breeding ground for millions of invisible enemies. You are thirsty. You approach a communal well or the lower pools of Siloam. The water looks cool, but it is teeming with bacteria. Dysentery is the silent plague of the poor. It starts with a stomach ache, then a fever, and within days it drains the life from you. There are no 4 drips, no antibiotics. Just a slow, dehydrating end on a straw mat in a crowded room. For the children of Jerusalem, this is the greatest hurdle. Statistics from this era suggest that nearly half of all children never see their 10th birthday, their lives stolen by contaminated water and lack of hygiene. A simple scratch from a pottery shard in these filthy streets can turn gangrenous in days. In the shadow of the holiest place on earth, the most common prayer is simply for clean water. Here, filth is not just an inconvenience, it is a death sentence waiting in every cup.
Make way, make way!
High above the Temple Mount stood the Antonia Fortress, the seat of Roman authority in Judea.
If the microscopic killers don't claim you, the masters of the known world might. Lift your eyes to the north of the Temple Mount. There stands the Antonia Fortress, a constant, looming reminder of who really owns this city. The Pax Romana, the peace of Rome, is enforced at the edge of a gladius. In year 1 AD, Jerusalem is a powder keg. The Roman garrison is vastly outnumbered by the Jewish population, and this makes the soldiers twitchy, paranoid, and incredibly dangerous. Walking down the Tyropean Valley, you hear them before you see them. The rhythmic, terrifying crunch of hobnailed sandals on stone. When a patrol passes, you do not make eye contact. You press yourself against the limestone walls and pray you look insignificant. Death by Rome is often sudden and arbitrary. A misunderstood gesture, a refusal to carry a soldier's pack for a mile, or simply being in the vicinity of a protest can end your life. The soldiers are authorized to use summary execution to keep the peace. There is no trial for a commoner in the street. A sword thrust to the gut is the judge, jury, and executioner. And then there are the taxes. The publicans, backed by Roman steel, bleed the populace dry. Resistance is met with the ultimate punishment. Outside the city walls, the wood of the olive trees is often repurposed into crosses. Crucifixion isn't just an execution, it is a billboard. It is Rome's way of saying, this is what happens when you defy Caesar. To die by the sword is quick. To die on the cross is a slow, suffocating theater of agony designed to strip you of your dignity before it takes your breath. In Jerusalem, the eagle watches everything and its talons are sharp. But the danger doesn't only come from the foreign occupiers. In the dark corners of the marketplaces and the crowded courts of the temple, a silent civil war is brewing. The Jewish people are fractured and tension creates monsters. Enter the Sicarii, the dagger men. These are not soldiers who meet you on the battlefield. They are ghosts in the machine. In year 1 AD, political assassination is a terrifyingly common art form. The Zealots believe that submission to Rome is a sin against God, and anyone who collaborates, tax collectors, wealthy priests, Sadducees, is a target. Imagine standing in the crushing crowd during Passover. You are shoulder to shoulder with thousands of pilgrims. Suddenly you feel a sharp shove. You think nothing of it, perhaps just the heave of the mob. But the man next to you gasps. A curved dagger, a sikka, has been slipped between his ribs and withdrawn in a split second. The assassin doesn't run. He starts screaming for help, blending in with the panicked crowd. This is the terror of the Zealot's knife. You never see it coming. It strikes in the most holy places, turning sanctuaries into slaughterhouses. Death here is intimate and chaotic. It is born of a desperate desire for freedom, twisted into fratricide. If you are seen talking to a Roman, or if your wealth suggests collaboration, you walk with a target on your back. In this holy city, Your own
Roman
brother might be the
authorities
one to end you for
desperately
the
tried to
sake of
erase
the nation.
message. But the seeds of rebellion had already been sown among the people.
While swords and daggers take lives violently, a quieter, slower killer stalks the lower city, famine. Jerusalem is a city of extreme inequality. In the upper city, the priestly aristocracy dines on roasted lamb, imported wine, and figs. Their mansions are insulated from the reality below. But descend the stone stairs, and you enter a world of perpetual hunger. In year 1 AD, the economy is fragile. A bad harvest in Galilee or a tax hike from Rome sends food prices soaring. For the day laborer, the stonecutter, or the widow, bread is not a guarantee. It is a luxury. You work from sunrise to sunset for a single denarius, and often, it is not enough to buy grain for a family. This death is not dramatic. It is a slow fading. It begins with the weakening of the body. You see it in the legs of the children, bowed by rickets from lack of calcium and sunlight in the dark hovels. You see it in the hollow eyes of the elderly begging by the city gates. The immune system collapses and a simple cold becomes pneumonia. Desperation drives people to eat refuse, to fight over scraps thrown to the dogs behind the mansions of the rich. The field of blood and the potter's field are filled not just with criminals, but with the poor who simply faded away, wrapped in rags and buried in shallow graves. In Jerusalem, gold shines on the temple roof, but for thousands in the shadows below, the only currency that matters is a handful of barley.
Illustrates the theocratic economy of Jerusalem in the 1st century AD.
A stark contrast defined the empire.
Jerusalem is a
While some
theocracy.
enjoyed the
The
luxury
law
of
of Moses is
volcanic oil,
absolute, and enforcing it is the duty of the Sanhedrin. While Rome handles political dissent, religious crimes, blasphemy, adultery, Sabbath breaking, are dealt with by the community itself. And the punishment is brutal, visceral, and collective, stoning. This is not a mob riot, it is a ritual execution. If you are accused and found guilty by the council of elders, you are taken outside the city walls. The geography of Jerusalem, with its loose stones and rocky terrain, provides the ammunition. The witnesses who accused you are the first to cast the stones, laying their heavy cloaks at the feet of an official to free their arms for the task. Imagine the psychological horror. You are stripped, standing in a pit or against a wall. A circle of your neighbors, perhaps even people you knew, surrounds you. They believe they are purging evil from their midst. The first stone strikes. Then another. It is a death of blunt force trauma, crushing bone and spirit. There is no escape and there is no mercy. The community participates to share the burden of the killing, ensuring that no single hand is solely responsible. To die this way is to be utterly rejected by your people and, in their eyes, by God. The stones of Jerusalem are used to build its walls, but they are also used to cleanse its soul of sinners.
Here we see the commandment on blasphemy, written in the ancient Hebrew script known as Ktav Ashuri.
That is the one I spoke of.
There is a fate in ancient Jerusalem that many fear more than death itself. It starts with a small white patch on the skin, a numbness in the fingers. You try to hide it, covering it with long sleeves, but eventually the priest must see it. The verdict is a single devastating word, tamei, unclean. This is the curse of leprosy. It is not just a disease, it is a total social execution. You are not killed, you are banished. By law, you must tear your clothes, let your hair hang loose and cover your upper lip. You are forced to walk out of the city gates, leaving behind your wife, your children, your home, and your trade. You are dead to them. Outside the walls, in the caves of the Hinnom Valley, you join the colony of the living dead. The physical suffering is horrific. Flesh decaying, fingers and toes reabsorbed by the body, blindness, but the loneliness is the true torture. If a traveler approaches, you are legally bound to scream, "Unclean! Unclean!" to warn them away. You survive on scraps of food lowered in baskets or left on rocks by charitable souls who dare not come close. You watch the city lights from the darkness of the wilderness, remembering the life you once had. In year 1 AD, to be a leper is to be a ghost haunting the edges of the world, waiting for a physical death that comes far too slowly. Jerusalem in the 1st century is a massive construction site. Herod the Great began the work, but the expansion of the Temple Mount continues for decades. It is an engineering marvel, featuring some of the largest stones ever moved by human hands, monoliths weighing hundreds of tons. But this grandeur is built on blood. For the stone cutters and laborers, the temple is a hungry beast. There is no safety equipment, no harnesses, no hard hats. Men work on rickety wooden scaffolding dizzying heights above the stone pavement. A single slip, a loose plank, or a gust of wind and you fall to your death. But the greatest danger comes from the stones themselves. Moving a 50-ton block of limestone requires rollers, ropes, and brute force. If a rope snaps, and they often do, the stone becomes a juggernaut, crushing anything in its path. Limbs are pulverized instantly. The dust from the quarry coats the lungs of the workers, leading to a slow, suffocating death by silicosis years later. Life is cheap here. Slaves and low-paid workers are easily replaced. If a man dies under the weight of a header stone, he is dragged away, and another steps into his place within minutes. The glorious white stones of the Western Wall that we admire today were set in place by the broken bodies of the anonymous laborers who built the house of God.
Push harder. It has to move.
Jerusalem has a normal population of perhaps 80,000. But during the great pilgrim festivals like Passover, that number explodes to nearly 250,000. The city is not designed for this. It becomes a pressure cooker of humanity. Entering the city gates is like entering a physical current. You lose control of your movement. You are pushed, shoved, and compressed from all sides. In the narrow, winding alleys of the lower city, a crowd crush is a very real and terrifying possibility. If someone trips in front of you, the wall of humanity behind you does not stop. People are trampled to death in the shadow of the sanctuary. Add to this the relentless Judean sun. The heat radiates off the white limestone, creating an oven effect. Dehydration and heat stroke strike without warning. In the packed courtyards of the temple, the air is thick with the smoke of sacrifices, the smell of unwashed bodies, and the dust of thousands of feet. Oxygen becomes scarce. Old men faint and are lost under the sea of robes. Children are separated from parents and swallowed by the mob. Panic is the spark. A rumor of a Roman soldier drawing a sword or a fire can trigger a stampede that leaves hundreds dead in minutes. To come to Jerusalem is a holy act, but to survive the crowd requires strength, luck, and fighting for every breath.
Move back! Get out of the way! They're killing us! Run! Help me! My leg is broken!
Drink this, quickly.
Before you can even die in Jerusalem, you have to survive the journey to get there. The road from Jericho to Jerusalem ascends 3,000 feet through a desolate, sun-scorched wilderness. It is known as the Ascent of Blood, Adumim, and it earns its name. This landscape is a predator's paradise. The road twists through deep canyons and limestone caves, offering 1,000 hiding spots for bandits. These are not petty pickpockets. They are desperate, violent gangs who control the passes. They watch the caravans from the ridges, waiting for the straggler, the lone traveler, or the small family. The attack is always a surprise. They descend from the rocks like wolves. In a land without a police force, your scream for help echoes uselessly off the canyon walls. They strip you of everything, your money, your donkey, even your clothes. If you resist, you are beaten or stabbed and left for dead on the burning rocks. The parable of the Good Samaritan was not an abstract story to the people of 1 AD. It was a daily reality. Many pilgrims saved their entire lives for the journey, only to die within sight of the holy city, their bodies becoming food for the jackals that prowl the wadis at night. The road to heaven is narrow, but the road to Jerusalem is lined with graves.
Luck be with you! Hand it over, you bearded fool. The gods favor me tonight.
Well struck.
The unforgiving landscape of the Wadi Khelt, a stark reminder of the immense scale.
The harsh reality of the Pax Romana was clear. It protected the state, but offered little solace.
Water, Rome, zealots, famine, judgment, disease, labor, crowds, bandits. In year 1 AD, death is not an eventuality, it is a constant companion. The average life expectancy hovers around 35 years. To reach old age is a miracle. To see your children grow is a blessing defied by the odds. Jerusalem is a city of sharp contrast. It is the place where heaven touches earth, yet it is a graveyard for the unwary. It is built on the hope of eternity, but paved with the suffering of the temporal. Every stone in this city has witnessed 1,000 endings. Yet, despite the 9 ways to die, they continued to come. They braved the bandits, endured the Romans, and survived the famine. Why? Because for the people of this time, being close to the presence of God was worth the risk of death. They lived with a resilience that we can scarcely imagine today. As the sun sets over the Judean hills, painting the sky in blood and gold, the city closes its gates. The survivors sleep, gathering strength for another day of survival in the center of the world. Jerusalem remains, eternal and unforgiving, a monument to human endurance in the face of inevitable mortality.